Is it?
Yeah.
Where did you normally meet?
The fourth floor
Oh, in the,
conference room?
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something?
new room.
Hey.
Hey, Joel.
Our night.
The meeting is being recorded.
We-
And we're live.
We just started.
Hi, Michael. Hi. Thank you for having.
Well, the agenda, the first item on the agenda was approval of previous meeting minutes, and we're not going to do that today because I don't know where they are. But we will approve the previous two meetings at the next meeting's minutes. So that's be easy. We don't have, Allison's the chair, right?
No, I'm the chair.
You're the chair. Okay, so you run the meeting.
Okay, so welcome everyone. I'll start with a roll call. Joel.
Here.
Casey. Here. Stephanie.
Here.
Allison. Not here. And Patricia, I'm here. So the next item on our meeting agenda is to determine a new meeting schedule. And can we pull up what our old schedule was? Is it possible to continue that? I mean, I guess this is feedback from everyone, but that might be a good starting point because it seemed to work. And 3:30 seems to be a pretty good time for all of us.
Max, I bet that was in the minutes. Let me see what we had in the slide. Are you in the folder, Max?
I don't know which slide deck we're looking at.
Probably the 7/17/24. I bet
Presentation.
we had a meeting schedule in there.
Okay, let me see. It just said, the next meeting would be, it was in July and the next meeting would be November 20th at 3:30. It doesn't have a schedule.
I believe it was July, November, right after the audit sometime
In February.
February, and probably at the end of the year, end of our fiscal year. So probably somewhere around now. July.
So,
July,
I think it's July, November, February.
typically you met March 20th, July 17th, and it was scheduled for November.
so 3 meetings, 3:30.
Although Casey, you're muted, does that work for you?
Great question. I'm sure if you set the dates, I can just double check my work calendar, but it seems perfectly reasonable.
Okay, so like the last Wednesday of March at 3:30, the last Wednesday of July, 3:30, and the last Wednesday of November, 3:30.
Probably not the last Wednesday in November.
November might not work.
I do remember that being a thing. What did we?
Well, last time it was because Allison was gonna travel. I'm guessing that didn't happen and that's where she is now.
In 2023, it was November 15th.
So it was middle.
It's really up to y'all. I mean, we just want to make sure we hit whatever that weird 75. Like, remember we went back and forth on someone missed a meeting and they're pretty much out.
Yeah.
You can avoid that. But it's also, the frequency right now is just not a lot of juicy information yet, but there will be at some point.
Well, if we need to tack on a meeting this year, just to help Allison.
Which we probably will need to just probably hit a meeting next month. But I like a July meeting, which I don't put a meeting, but I think getting us on the schedule.
See if we need
July,
another one in June.
I'll get with Amy on that and I'll email the group.
Okay.
To see if we can get some sort of exemption for like pulling.
Yeah, special. Because my understanding is that we could just tack one on, it could be remote. Okay, we all met, great, no new items. So if that's what we need to do, I think we're willing to
That's
do
fine.
that.
Yep.
But July, November?
Okay.
For this year?
I'll get it scheduled.
Will you send out those dates?
Will do.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the bond project and finance updates.
You want to talk about the audit?
We are fairly informal today, but we did have a successful audit. There was not much activity in this fund, I think, as we all anticipated. So an audit, as I think we discussed over a year ago at this point, the basics are the auditors are assessing whether or not we have accurately presented the activities that occurred financially for the project, right? Things that we completed last year, so last fiscal and calendar year entering the fiscal year that we're currently moving toward the end of. We issued the first set of bonds, right? So just under $15 million focused towards the affordable housing projects, because those were projects that have been approved by the Affordable Housing Subcommittee of the Commissioners, and so that would be the major revenue source of activity. Expenditures that we experienced in the fund was cost of issuance related to that activity. So we pay for attorneys, for our financial advisors, fees to the state to accept and process their applications. Those fees are accounted for and offset by a portion of the finance dollars. So we're saying we needed $14 million to do the project, give us an extra $300,000 to pay our financial support and representatives. Other activity there is moving into this fiscal year. Matt has some, I think, actual notes in front of him, but we have distributed some money towards those affordable housing programs against the terms of their agreements. The shorter version is findings in our audit, but unrelated to this fund or the activity here. If you were to look at our financial statements, balance sheet, and income statement, it's pretty quiet. And most of what there is the bulk of the initial cash from actual issuance of the bond proceeds that we're still holding on to distribute to those programs and developers. Anything to add?
No, so that was FY24 is when we issued the debt. It was 14.7. That was Lakeshore Villas, Laurelwood, Maryville, Redwood Commons. So since then, in FY25, we've had 2 financial transactions on the actual side. Lakeshore Villas has started paying out at $1.3 million, and Maryville has started paying out at $831,000. That is a financial activity for the year. They have, it looked like, increased some more projects. The count that I'm seeing is 16 projects. But the spending, we've had 2 transactions. So, any questions?
Mason, you said in your findings, were any of them internal control related?
That is a great question. It's been so long since
Potentially affect these.
I looked at them. Not formally. We had, I guess I would say, 3 findings. 2 of those were on our single audit grant program side, and those related to, as a single audit, the specific program requirements in health and human services functions.
So compliance.
Right. So outside of that, and then the other 2, no, they were not internal control. They were kind of debates we've been having with the state about handling certain special revenue funds for the last several years, and kind of been chasing guidance on those, so not internal control.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question unrelated to the audit. So the $50 million for the affordable housing projects, what was like the ROI or the number of units that came online based on that investment?
It's a great question. For a planning person that is not here.
You can always get, if you don't know the answer, you can circle back. Being newer to the committee, I'll have probably a lot of questions.
I have it. 1 second.
Thanks.
Is that information being reported out on the dashboard?
It is, and if you all go to the dashboard, Matt, the other person, he said he needs to filter a fund out. So you're going to see more spending that's actually not GeoBond related. So some of it's like we're using GeoBond money to match some things. So you're going to see some extra actuals. I say, no, he's out of town today. So, but yes, it is reported out.
So that was a big thing that we did at the beginning as a committee, is help build out a dashboard that got reported out. And I think that was one thing that we specifically requested.
I can almost guarantee you
Is that
that.
right?
We'll probably
Yeah,
start
chime
sorting
in.
it out and then probably put it on hold. But I have. And then just a quick reminder about debt. So when we issue bonds, specifically general obligation bonds, there are so many legal loops that we have to jump through. And there are so many, the LGC is the local government commission, and they kind of oversee all of the financial workings of local governments, and we have to go through very rigorous steps in order to issue the debt. So I hope there's some assurance there that we're just not out.
And the dashboard's up to date as of today.
It is up to date as of today, but he needs to filter to just the GO bonds fund. I think there's a filter missing on the dashboard. So if you go on there, it's gonna look like there's more spending that's not related. Let's see, GOs.
So it's GO bond funding that's matching other funding through the county?
Yes,
Gotcha.
yeah, in some cases.
And so right now, we would see both of those.
Yeah, what we'll do is when he gets back, we'll reconcile the two and make sure it's. I think they were working on the dashboard and then the storm hit and then we kind of, but we had published it already. Let's see. 2GO.
Have you seen the dashboard?
I haven't looked at it
I
recently.
think that looked like 3 months ago.
Because it was the last meeting when we were getting your final notes.
Right.
on
Might have been.
Mhm. I think it was that it's gonna go live any minute now, but it's not.
I had Chloe write up a really good description of all the properties for the LGC. I'll find that document and I'll share it.
Great. Do we have other questions, comments about any of the bond projects? Where are we with the open space bonds?
So here's the reality, right? So everyone got redeployed for the storm. Jennifer's team, she lost some folks, and she has been working on street bank. Revitalization,
Restoration.
EWP, seating. I can almost guarantee that everything has been put on pause for a minute. So.
And I think the big picture with affordable housing is, I think all of those projects remain fully viable as they were originally approved, so that piece is moving forward. There, of course, has been very significant impact to spaces where open space projects were considered. So in addition to project management capacity, I think there's been a pause and a reevaluation of the most effective use of these funds, given we are going to be in a recovery phase for a while. Does it need to be retimed towards projects that were originally considered, or do they need to consider different projects altogether?
Did the storm affect any of the affordable housing projects?
Don't believe so.
Did not.
So everything that's been committed affordable housing remains committed and.
Yeah, it looks like the one that has.
Everything, was anything actually committed with open? There were some, wasn't there? Or
So-
is that all being reconsidered?
So, well, I mean, the ones that we already approved the bonds for were the committed ones. Let me see, I think everything else has happened is all open space projects. Sure, this one now. Yeah, it looks like it's just a bunch of open space projects. So this is just a budget actual printed out of the financial software. The one that doesn't have activity are the two. Laurelwood, looks like we haven't encumbered that yet. Oh, Lost at Swananoa, that's probably a new one. Yeah, we'll make sure to get Matt the room. Mason said it though, so you're all seeing it in your organizations where you're dealing with the federal funding. We are trying to leverage as much as we possibly can to get the affordable housing and open space goals of the county. So this now becomes where this was the main vehicle for that. This is a piece of the pie now. So.
And I think the open space conversation was in queue for next phase of review, maybe a commissioner adoption of the recommended projects. And so we were, like many things, this close to moving to the next milestone before.
So there wasn't much that was already approved and committed.
Correct, that's my
It was-
understanding. And
okay.
yeah, and the way that,
Want to make it less challenging than it's not.
right, yeah, because the way that we're moving forward is the kind of the ultimate obligation is in our mind are the projects that have gone with the bond application that we've actually issued that for. So until we have money in the door, there's ultimate flexibility. And even at that point, there's still some flexibility as long as we have similar type projects, which is the way we're doing it.
Stephanie, I'll email you this document that we passed around.
It's fine.
Any other questions, comments?
And I will say Jennifer has been working really hard on the waterway debris cleanup and restoration. I've been working with her on that. So give her some grace.
I know she's doing a great job. I mean, every single person got redeployed.
Before we go away from this, just the offer, so obviously you're new to the committee, Casey, to me, this is kind of like 3 or 4 separate committees all in one, right? There are many different elements. And so if you're having an onboarding conversation with Max, you would like a walkthrough of the flow of the financial components of this conversation, and we're happy to take this steps.
All right, well, the next item on our agenda are committee questions. Does anyone on the committee have any questions, comments? Or in there. Do we have any public comment? Do we have any public?
Anyone watching?
We do not have any viewers.
One of these days. Is there anything else that we need to address today? No?
I'm just assuming that in our July meeting, they'll probably get more caught up and have a chance to look at the dashboard and see what's going on new fiscal year going.
Okay, then, all right, we vote to adjourn, right? I
Yes.
screw this up every time.
Yes.
One of these days I won't. All right, all in favor of adjourning? Aye. Anyone
Aye.
opposed? All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Well done.
Yes.